Clicker training, amazing, epic, really, in what it can do for horses. But I need to have a horse who is emotionally resilient and comfortable with pressure. So I'll never use my clicker training as a permanent diversion from an issue with pressure in a horse or a person.
Yeah.
That's something I won't do. Temporary solution to produce a feeling that will build confidence to get them there, absolutely.
Kaleigh Marie is one of those trainers you've probably seen and thought, wait, how is that even real? Liberty performances with horses laying on their backs, galloping in formation, completely relaxed, while doing things you'd expect in a movie. The horses don't look forced, they're just with her. And it makes you wonder what she's doing differently to create that level of trust and partnership. Kaylee and I get into why horses check out or feel different depending on the day, and how that ties back to responsiveness, trust, and the nervous system. From training oxen and donkeys to rebuilding everything she thought she knew, this episode gets into what's really driving your horse's behavior.
Dear Horse World, it's Kaleigh Marie.
Kaylee, welcome to the Dear Horse World podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, so I'm going to premise by saying that I learned about you. I mean, we met at Road to the Horse the first year I went. I believe we were at one of Dan James's parties.
Yes.
That was wild.
That was a wild time.
No one warned me about
Fire
that.
breathing included.
No one warned me. I was like, this is like nothing, and I've seen a lot, and that was the first
memorable experience.
It was. Yeah. You're burned in my memory.
Quite literally, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. But actually, I want to bring up how Tick Maynard talked about you. Which was, I was asking him and I was like, who do I want? Like, I want to learn about Liberty, and I really want to learn. And he knows how I feel about, you know, like my relationship with my horses, and I wouldn't, ironically, like given that we have an education platform, I feel like I'm a really slow learner. I don't feel like I'm a particularly fast learner. And so it was, I wanted someone who was going to be like really, and I think this is going to be cool because we're going to talk about nervous system work. I have a super sensitive nervous system, and I think one of the things that Tick really was thoughtful in about when he talked about you was just like how safe and welcoming and like nervous system informed your teaching is. Which I didn't know that. Because if someone were to watch you run, well, think about it. If someone were to watch you gallop in on 3 horses or 2 horses into a standing up, like full movie stunt rider style, right? With like huge, you know, like this massive dress, and the horses are like, you know, galloping around the arena. If you were like, that person does a ton of nervous system work, you'd be like, really?
I can see the disconnect there, yeah.
Well, it makes sense when you think about it. But one of the things Tick said that not only are you just incredibly excited and enthusiastic and passionate about Liberty, he also said that if there was a horse, actually the question I had for him was, if I were to send my horses to someone, anyway, if I were to send them away, so I have to trust that that person is going to do right by my horses, he said, oh, Kaleigh Marie, without a doubt. Yeah.
Tick, thank you.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So why do you think he said that?
Well, my mind jumps immediately back to the first time I met Tick in person. He and I connected through a student of mine back when I was based in the Northeast, and she had met him at one of his book signings. She had been a huge fan, and I had heard of Tick, but I hadn't come across a lot of his work. And she had promoted me to him because she's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
And he had sent her home with a napkin with his phone number and Braveheart Beasts with a heart underneath it, which was so sweet, and had told her, have her reach out to me. I'd love to talk to her. So I, throughout my entire learning experience with horses and just as a person, I love reaching out to people randomly on the off chance that they might want to connect, and we can talk and I can learn from them, and maybe possibly they can learn something from me. And so I took this number and I reached out to Tick, and we connected on the phone for a fairly brief conversation. And he just mentioned, if you're ever in the Ocala, Citra area, you should come by my farm. And it was probably close to, I don't know, 6 or 8 months from that phone call where I found myself in the Florida area. And I reached out to him. I was like, Tick, I'm in the area. Can I come by and visit? He's like, yes, absolutely. And it was New Year's actually. So I went to their farm for a New Year's party and then spent, it was about 2 days with them, with Tick in particular, after this party. And when I arrived at the farm, because I went to the party, left, I was staying with somebody else at the time, and a day or two later came back and rolled up to the farm in an Uber, stepped out of the Uber with my suitcase, and Tick is in the round pen with this huge, gorgeous black gelding Galileo. Yeah. And I just walk up to the round pen as you do, and I'm watching him work this horse from the ground. And he, acknowledges that I'm there, and then he waves me into the round pen. He's like, come on, try this horse. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Tick Maynard is letting me work one of his horses. This is amazing. And I go in and we start on the halter and lead rope, and then he's like, take the halter off, play at liberty. And he watches me for 5 or 10 minutes and is like, you look great, I'll be back. And he goes to get another horse, and for the rest of the day, we just work horses together. And he's asking me questions about how I would approach things. And it was one of those humbling moments where the work that I had seen from him up until that point, because after our phone call, I was like, I have to check this guy out. He has a quality to him, like such a genuine kindness that inspires curiosity about what he does. Like the work that he does physically is fantastic, but watching it, like witnessing it, there's something about it that just generates this desire to know more. And so I had seen more and more before I went to his farm in Florida, and to have this experience of this person that when he witnessed just who I was, genuinely stepping into the round pen of like, okay, I have no idea what this horse knows. I'm just going to work with this horse and try to pretend that nobody's watching me, to be as authentic as possible, to have somebody like him witness just my genuine approach and feel and immediately give me a massive vote of confidence. He has in just that way of in his action, the way that he speaks to me, because this isn't the first time I've heard feedback from people, having received feedback from him that was very, very kind about the work that I do. I think receiving those votes of confidence is just huge. And since then we've been friends, and the horse world, it's big and small at the same time. So totally. We always connect in the circles that we're in. Eventually we come across each other. So yeah, that's really meaningful. Really meaningful.
Isn't it nice to receive a compliment like that, or like a vote of confidence? Even more than a compliment. Compliment is like one thing.
The vote of confidence is what really is affirming to me, especially coming from somebody who knows what goes into really connection-based work, nervous system informed work. Like to have somebody that can see the path that I'm on. I feel there are people that can see the path that you're on even more so than you do sometimes.
Oh yeah,
like
sure.
I know where she's headed, and she's headed in a great direction. It's like a breath of relief of like, whew, okay, there's it's almost a check mark on the path of like, okay, I've reached this point, and where I am now, where I'm headed, I know that I'm headed in a good direction. So that's just really meaningful.
Okay, so before we dive in, because this is a No Stupid Questions episode, and I'm so excited.
I love it.
Because I think our community has lots of really cool questions for you.
So cool.
But I want you to share with everyone, because when we started, I said, okay, where did Braveheart Beasts come from?
Yeah.
You said, well, actually it came from the fact that I was like working not just with horses. Can you like share that a little bit with everybody?
Absolutely. And this is a pretty big piece of my identity. I feel like as a horse trainer is the fact that I did not start training horses. I was born obsessed with horses, as most of us were, into a family that had nothing to do with them at all. I was just the odd one out, and since I was a very little girl, was determined to be involved with them to whatever extent I could be. And growing up in Vermont in a tiny little farm town, there's a local riding stable where I started riding when I was like 4 or 5 years old. But my first opportunity to really immerse myself in animal culture was a dairy farm about 10 minutes from my childhood home. And I started working there when I was 11 years old, actually because of a barn cat, a little kitten that was sick. We had stopped there to bring sweet corn home. This is like a Hallmark movie, if you've ever heard one. And there's this tiny little cat that was so sick. And my mom was like, you can't bring it home, but you can ask the farmer if you can come back to take care of it. And I was the most socially awkward kid, so like terrified of this 6'4" tall, gruff New England man, Farmer Neil. And I walked up to Farmer Neil, was like, "Hi, sir, I found this cat. Can I come back and try to save it?" And he was like, I guess so. And came back the next day and found this kitten and cared for it the next day, and just kept coming back until the cat was better. And
But you wanted to keep coming back.
and I kept coming back. I swear for the first 6 months, they didn't even know my name. Like I just kept to myself and eventually became more and more immersed in the actual farm life. Like I said, it was a dairy farm. So I helped care for all of the cows and the calves. There were pigs, chickens, crops. There was a big garden. And I was there before school, after school. It became like my second home.
Wow.
And this man who, meeting him, is this gruff, weathered guy. He's the kindest, most generous person. Like the life I have now, I could not have. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. I could not have without the generosity that he showed me. And it started with the cows when I was 12. I had been there for a year. He walked up to me. I remember this vividly. I have no idea why, but it's like burned into my mind. I was carrying 2 5-gallon pails of water as best I could as a 12-year-old girl up this hill to go water the chickens. And he walked up to me. And at that point, I was still a little nervous of him. I was like, "Hi, what do you need from me?" And he was like, those 2 twin calves that were just born, they were a pair of twin bull calves. I was like, "Yes." He's like, "You ought to train those to be oxen." And I was like, "Oxen?" He was like, "Yep, oxen." And went about his day. I had no idea what oxen were. And upon going home and telling my parents, "Mom, Dad, I have oxen," they also had no idea what oxen were. We looked it up online. There was one book in existence about what they were, what their equipment was, how to train them. And I set on this journey to training these 2 calves. I named them Simon and Oliver, to be a working team of oxen. And I was quite successful. Like I had no idea what I was doing in the beginning. And just upon spending hours and hours of trial and error with them and finding guidance in some local farmers as well who had worked oxen with their grandfathers in the fields when they were growing up, like just traditional history in the town where I was, I became quite successful with them. There was 4-H competitions in my home state and in New England. That's the thing where I'm from, is oxen competitions of like fitting and showmanship, how clean they are, how well you present them, how much you know. Cart classes where you hook them to a 2-wheeled cart. It's like precision down to the inch, like wildly precise driving classes to see how well you can control the team. And then strength classes of hooking them to an actual physical load that they had to move around. Wow. An obstacle course, like wild
This
stuff.
is so not
like
at all what I was
whole,
expecting.
It's a whole other world. And these competitions would happen at county and state fairs.
Yeah.
And so I got really into the competitions. And I mean, through this whole time, I'm still obsessed with horses, obsessed with my cows, but still obsessed with horses, and could not have my own horse. Wasn't allowed to have a horse at the dairy farm, still family not really involved in horses. So because of this passion, this persistent passion, and the work I was doing with the cows, I did the only logical thing I could think of, which was to teach the cows to ride. And so I would ride them.
My God.
Like when I say ride, they would walk, trot, and canter. We'd go on trail rides together. We'd go swimming in the river together. Like anything a teenager would do with her horse, I did with these
This
cows.
is you're not having me on here.
No, I'll send you pictures. Like that,
We have
they
to
were
include
my
these
childhood best friends. And they were twins, almost all black. They grew up to be over 2,500 pounds. Over 6 feet tall, with like these pearly white horns. They were menacing to anybody that didn't know who they were or what they were, but to this day, the most docile, forgiving animals that I've ever worked with. Thank goodness, because I went on to teach them to ride bridleless, to roam and ride bridleless. I clicker trained them to do tricks. They're the first animals I ever clicker trained. And when you drive oxen, you don't have reins. You just have your body, a stick, and your voice. So growing up, I didn't even know liberty work was a thing. I just did it. It was just a natural progression of training. And eventually with these steers, I just found it more convenient to be able to lead them around without halters or a yoke, which is the equipment that they work in. So would just drive them as a team completely at liberty. And this was the foundation of my entire childhood, was spending time on this 600-acre farm with my 2 cows. Positive reinforcement, bridleless riding, liberty work, like that was where it all began for me. And it was never something that was elite. It was just the way that we communicated with one another. It is what made life easy and sensible, was to be able to communicate with them. And because they were so massive and I was so little, they had to want to do what I wanted them to do, because there was no making them do these things.
Yeah, there's literally no 2,500
no making them do it. So all of these county fairs that we would go to compete, often to the dismay of the administration, I would show these other things. I would Roman ride them, I'd ride them around, I'd ride them bridleless. And
when you say it was to the people were upset about this?
So it caused intense controversy in the world of Oxen, because of, when it came down to it, jealous parents of children I was competing against. Also just fair policy of safety, of nobody rides cows. It's not safe to ride cows. I will tell you, as somebody that has ridden cows, mules, donkeys, camels, horses, cows are the safest animal you can possibly ride, because they are so peaceful and, I will say, thoroughly thoughtful. Many people call them slow. They're just very thorough in how they process and deliver information. So like where a horse will spook, it takes immense amounts of effort for a cow to spook. Hence why I could do all of these insane things. Like horse people hear this, they're like, that's crazy. Like when I say we Roman road bridleless, we walked around the yard. And
so when you say Roman road,
yeah,
what does that mean?
So Roman riding means they're lined up next to each other and I would stand on them.
Like what you do with the horses?
Yeah, exactly. So like what I do with horses now is just a lot faster than what I used to do back then.
Wow.
So I say it caused intense controversy. It's just nobody had ever seen this done with cows before. And just like anything that's new, like for me, I just did it because I thought it was fun and awesome, but it was new, and new is scary. So people either were all for it or entirely
like isn't that
against
interesting?
It. Mm-hmm.
Often when we do something new or something is impossible until it's possible, then all of a sudden you either get people who are like 10 out of 10 excited or 10 out of 10 furious about what you're up to.
And where I am in my life now, I know that that's a good sign. That was hard to understand as a kid, which makes me very, very thankful for my parents, especially my mom, who to this day is like my biggest fan. And she was my fiercest protector back then, because she believed in me so strongly. Like nobody could touch me. And if they tried, she was the first one up the bat to stand up for me and what I was doing. And eventually this gave way to my first teaching opportunities. As a 16-year-old kid, I was going across the country with Simon and Oliver to international agricultural organizations, colleges, draft animal powered field days, anywhere where oxen were relevant. I started to present on what I would describe now as relationship-based training, which back then, as I said, it's just what made sense. It's just how I communicated with them and how I motivated them to do the work that I wanted them to do, which compared to traditional methods of training oxen was very new and unconventional, because a lot of traditional methods relied heavily on force, on making these very massive but very peaceful animals do tasks that they might not understand or be comfortable with. So it was a little bit of a revolution with this very young girl and these big cows in this world of training oxen that opened the doorway to me being able to access educational platforms from a very young age and connect with people over connecting with animals.
Wow.
So those are like my deep roots. Now, fast forward a little bit, because how do I eventually get back into horses is the big question on the table here. I, as a very little girl, was obsessed with the idea of having a big black horse. This is like the only justification I have for the next decision that I made, which was to purchase a young Percheron filly. That was my first horse ever. And I think as a young woman, like people seeing what I've accomplished with the horses I have now, there's the assumption that I've been in horses my whole life. And I started riding when I was young, but when I was immersed in the cows, I had nothing to do with horses. For about 7 years, I didn't touch horses, and only got back into horses when I was like 17, 18 years old, which was about 10 years ago. Now, that was like my first horse that I ever trained on my own. It was a young Percheron filly She came with this name. Her name was Twinkle. She was like almost 19 hands. She was gigantic by the time she was full grown, and ended up getting her a teammate, and for a time had a carriage driving business, because with draft horses, that was just the world I was thrown into. It was, oh, if you have a draft horse, you should drive them. And she rode too, but I became very interested in the driving, would do hay rides, sleigh rides, weddings. And as I was figuring out this driving journey with this big team of beautiful black draft horses, I stumbled across a very unique opportunity, which has also helped to shape quite a bit of kind of the diverse species experience that I've had. As I mentioned, grew up in Vermont, very agricultural based state. So in the town or small city where I was at the time, on the outskirts of the city, there was a compost company, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a dirt company where people bring food and it's turned over and over and over in these gigantic windrows until it is compost. And they ship this compost across the country to people wanting high quality soil for their operations.
Cool.
And cool, eccentric, also very eccentric. The man that owned this company was obsessed with mammoth donkeys.
He was obsessed with what?
Mammoth donkeys.
What's a mammoth donkey?
So donkeys don't have breeds as much as horses do. They're classified much more by size. So you have like mini donkey, which I think is 36 inches and under. Standard donkey is up to 54 inches, and mammoth donkeys are over 14 hands and up. Okay. So maybe it's 54, 56 inches. So he was enamored with massive donkeys. That was his thing. And this very unique opportunity, he was looking for somebody to train these donkeys. And there was one mule, a very old Amish mule, to pull a wagon into the city of Montpelier, Vermont, to deliver his organic eggs to a local co-op once a week, simply for the sake of keeping animal power alive and thriving as like a representation of this is how we used to do things. And as a kid, this is how he used to do things. And for me, I had never worked with donkeys before, anything with long ears. I was just starting to figure out the horses. I was like, sign me up. I will, if you give me a chance to figure these animals out, I will get this done for you. I was much more confident than I should have been at the time. And I absolutely did it. I just through time and experimenting and figuring out, once again, what motivated them, we quite successfully created this program where once a week we'd harness a team of donkeys and hook up to a wagon and drive them into the city. And you talk about functional training with animals who are not easily motivated. They had to be traffic safe, like stoplight safe, with cars and bikes and horns and trucks and everything. And
but this makes are the pieces
starting to come together?
Perfect sense now. That piece of your puzzle makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because if anyone, and like again, a lot of people in high performance or in the sport side of things will not know a lot about mules or donkeys. I know a little bit. Yeah. And I'm fascinated about mules. But the reason why is because when I got my Appaloosa mare, a lot of vets told me, if you want to learn about how to really understand your mare, you should probably do more reading about mules and donkeys than you should about horses.
Interesting.
Because vets typically classify Appaloosas as more like stubborn and non-motivated, non-solution seeking, as I say, like mules and donkeys. So the more reading and the more talking to people, I've found out about the art of training and working with mules.
Art. That's
and
a good way to describe it.
No, but like this makes perfect sense as to why you are how you were able to do, how you've been able to do so much in 10 years. If your foundation in equus is donkeys and mules,
gigantic horses and gigantic donkeys,
starting
and gigantic cows.
Yeah.
Like all of the animals I started with were not easily motivated or coerced into doing things. And my favorite part about this, you look back on how you get to be where you are, and there are some things that you just can't explain beyond divine plan and intervention.
Yeah.
The experience I had as a young developing trainer with different species, the fact that that was right out of the gate where I stepped into this world, I honestly believe is the reason why I'm so predisposed to do what I do, because I've had so many opportunities to to hunt down beyond just horses what the common threads of connection are. Like, what is communication? What builds connection? And not just between people and horses, but people and species. Like, what do we need to understand individually about the species, but what is like the raw ingredient that I need? What are the raw pieces I need to build connection with whoever is in front of me? Because it was such a necessary and functional piece of what I did. Like, it wasn't just a pretty piece that I discovered through Liberty work with the horses. Like, no, the Liberty work is the easiest way for people to find and experience the pieces. But it was just a functional piece of working with animals who I needed to keep safe and who I needed to keep me safe. Like, we needed a strong, functional working relationship that was fulfilling for both of us, because I was, to a certain degree, at their mercy. So I needed to make it worth their time and to understand fundamentally what they were in it for and how I could deliver that to them.
Why should I?
That, and donkeys especially ask that question all the time. All the time. And at first it's so frustrating. Like, people call them stubborn, but they're very intelligent and cut and dry. Like, I came to realize that is a legitimate question. It's actually quite a vulnerable one of like, why should I do this for you?
Yeah.
And I think when we get thrown into the horse world, like, we take horses for granted. And working, especially with animals that are not easily motivated, we take their trainability for granted. We take their desire to connect with people for granted. Like, they are such a gift when it comes to having the opportunity to connect with an animal who is so much bigger and so much more sentient and able to feel and so much more athletic than we are. Like, they open up doors to worlds that we could never access otherwise. And we're thrown into this world with the assumption that, yes, I should just be able to sit on your back and ride you. And yes, I want to be able to do those things, but I absolutely need to make sure that it's for the good of my horse as well. Because what an opportunity to be able to do that with horses and any animal.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so cool. And I really love that, because I do think that donkeys and mules are this amazing, like, such an amazing teacher, because I do think that their level of stubbornness, like, often outweighs their, like, you know, I think there's this, and you'll probably be able to explain it better than me because you're a teacher in that way. Like, there's, you know, when you're in let's say you're training a horse and you're trying to find the solution, and you're obviously, the human, you're very motivated to find the solution. Yeah, you really want it. And have you ever been able to find that moment where the horse is like, yeah, okay, like, I can see you really want this. I mean, I'm anthropomorphizing here a little bit, but like, you can feel that horse kind of go like, yeah, okay, I'll give it to you. Like, and it's not to say that you found that maybe technically very well, but the horse was like, I'm going to put 1 + 1 = 2 here for you. Whereas I feel as though donkeys and mules are just like, I don't feel that particularly curious about the solution or the equation. Like, talking about motivation. Yeah. Do you find that to be true?
Well, I think, I mean, before we started this podcast, we had mentioned like the deep dives. This is our first opportunity for a deeper dive. And I mentioned just a moment ago the idea of like the raw ingredients of connection. There's a concept I refer to quite often, which is conversational quality. And like, I'll use this as a perfect example. This high quality conversation, we're both genuinely interested and engaging a pretty even amount. Like, I'm in the hot seat here, like, so I'm talking quite a bit.
But like,
we're very invested in the conversation. And now the analogy I typically use, it's two friends out for a cup of coffee. It could be a conversation like this where we're very enamored with what we're talking about and the engagement is here and flowing. We could have both brought our favorite book and we're sitting quite quietly, but mutually we're aware of one another. And with that comes a prioritizing of responsiveness. Like, out of everything that's happening around me, I prioritize you, that I'm going to respond to. You're what I orient to and what I respond to. And what's beautiful about this is that there's an equal amount of us in the thing that we're cultivating together. Yes. Like the creative process. It's not about the destination or the product that we're creating. It's about the actual physical experience and the essence of every single step that goes into creating the product. Yeah. that is, I think, what really leads to connection. Like people say, I want connection. Well, it's not in what you do, it's how you do it. So with horses, like that idea that my horse will put together 1 + 1, I don't actually believe that the horse will. I believe that the horse will give over their physical body and allow us to make the body put the pieces together for them. But at that point, we lose the emotional being inside of the horse. I lose the opportunity to bring who my horse is out in the work. And now it's just me. The conversational quality has left the building. And in the world of horses, I think it's much more acceptable to see that imbalance of more human than horse rather than more horse than human. Because as soon as we get more horse than the human is capable of interacting with or directing, we label them as dangerous, explosive, disrespectful, pushy, unmanageable, etc. We're just lacking conversational quality and awareness. Now, you take a donkey into the picture, you cannot make that donkey give you their body. That is the one thing donkeys won't do, is their self-preservation is so incredibly strong. There's nothing you can elicit from them that will cause them to forego their personal autonomy. That's just not on the table for them. So what you do need to do is produce an environment that leads them to make the decisions that you want them to make. Now, in the beginning, a lot of that environment is external. But I found through the experience of working these donkeys in the city streets of Montpelier's, the more often I could put us in situations where my call was the safe call, the more they started to trust me as an individual. So when we did get into the sketchy situations, where I tell you there were plenty, by the time we got there, if I made a call that wouldn't initially be theirs, they were much more apt to trust me because I had just consistently produced outcomes that justified the trust, where I think we expect horses to trust immediately, where it's something that has to be so earned and so delicately cultivated with horses because it is so easy to lose the emotional sentient being inside of the horse and just have the body, where I don't find other animals to be quite that way. Yeah.
Okay, the way you talk about trust, cultivating trust, but it makes sense because of the where you started. Like this is so this is so powerful. But I want to before we, because now I really want to pull. Like I'm like, oh, do I want rabbit hole questions? Rabbit hole question. Okay.
Yeah.
But how does the nervous system work? Where and when did nervous system work come into this?
So I've had a variety of experiences in the horse world, as we all do, as we kind of find our way. And going from the Mammoth donkeys, I've had some pretty significant turns and twists in my journey. At that time, I was starting to get back into riding. And taking riding lessons. I had started just slowly, casually started a training business, Braveheart Beasts. That's where that name came from, because it wasn't at that time just horses. It was cows, horses, donkeys, mules, whatever people were interested in having me work with. I was like, yeah, I guess I can do that for you. And when that journey started for me, that was when I found Alchemist, who, for anybody that follows my work, he's like my main guy. He's been with me for 8, almost 9 years now. And he was my first client horse ever. Family friend approached me with this young Frisian cross who wasn't broke to ride, and she just wanted a trail horse, just wanted a trail horse. Yes, we've heard that sentence so many times, just a trail horse. Where in her defense, she really just wanted a quiet horse to go out on the trails, and had found this beautiful young horse that she had fallen in love with, but more for looks than personality, which we've all been there for sure. And the sounds of this, by the sounds of it, I was like, within the realm of my knowledge, which especially based around riding was not very much at the time, it sounded like something that was manageable. Nothing too technical, just a horse that was safe enough to take out on trails. Well, I went to meet this horse and was met with this young, just to describe his presence, like huge in his presence, like his energy just dominated the space that you were in, not because he was particularly confident or pushy, but because he was chronically anxious with an immense amount of presence, of personality, and absolutely no tools whatsoever to manage himself. No rapport with people, no awareness that people had personal space or any kind of value to him in the input and safety that they could provide for him. And I knew, like, compared to what I know now, nothing. But I was like, you know what? I want to try this. I want to work with him. And at the time, he would bolt unpredictably, rear strike, like he was just unaware of his body and his surroundings and not secure all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what went from a season of training him for his owner very quickly turned into his owner saying, I'm realizing this is not the right course for me. I adore him. I don't want to sell him just for the sake of selling him. Do you want to take him? And it's crazy to think back to this because I almost said no. I almost said no because he was so much at the time, and I was not confident in my ability to help him. But I said, you know what? I'm going to continue. Like I'm up for the challenge. I'll see what happens. And he came into my life not too long after that. Elgin came into my life, his full brother. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I was
also, I'm really, say, I love all the Frisians. And this is a lot of Frisian energy, no?
Yeah, so they're Baroque Pintos, so half Frisian and half paint.
Cool.
Yeah, which was just like for horses to just find you. I was like, this is pretty cool. I can roll with this. And I did roll with it by taking alchemists to a school for classical dressage, the Temple Lipizzans, which is no longer operational, but it was a school of 30 Lipizzan stallions, 3 head trainers, 3 working students, and each of us was responsible for 10 stallions with the trainer that we were working with, which was an experience I could talk about all on its own. But going from, just to paint the picture of where I went from the donkeys to, okay, now I'm training horses, now I'm studying horses. Eventually, I was out in Illinois, of all places, landed back in the Northeast, outfitted with more knowledge than I had, and really sat down with myself more than anybody. And I was just like, okay, I want to really start my business and I want to do it in a good way.
Yeah.
And to really devote myself to training animals for other people. And that is where my business really began, was taking in training, still donkeys, mules, horses, not so much cows at that time. I say taking in, I traveled around. I had a toolbox in the bed of my truck with whips and halters and treat pouches. And I would go, I lived in Massachusetts, wherever my clients were. And some of my biggest clients became rescues in the Massachusetts area. There were 2 rescues in particular that I was the head trainer at. Over several years, I became really immersed in rehabilitating physically and emotionally the animals that came into the rescues. And because of that work, I developed the reputation of, like, if there's nobody else to call Kaylee. If there's a behavioral case that's really bizarre and a horse that might be on death's door, about to be euthanized because of something behavioral, can we send it to Kaylee to see if she can fix it? So I got to experience a wide range of pretty odd behavioral cases, from severe and unpredictable aggression to horses that were afraid of wide open spaces, like just weird behavior that really made you think about and puzzle on, where does the behavior come from? Like, unless a horse is neurologically unsound, all behavior comes from the same place. So I felt a need to understand where behavior was born from, really. Yeah. And a perfect timing to this chapter in my life was the start of Warwick Schiller's Journey on podcast. And the first 2 episodes talk ever so briefly about the nervous system, almost to the point where it's mean. It's a tease of, like, he just mentions parasympathetic, sympathetic, and a couple of the things that happen in those states. And I'm like, I was driving to a clinic when I heard it. And on the way to this clinic, I'm questioning everything I've been teaching, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I have no idea what that is, but I knew right away, this is where the answers are.
Yep.
And at that time, there was one horse in particular, Roman, who is a 17-year-old Tennessee walking horse who had come into this rescue unhandled, hadn't had a lot of training, any training really, and was severely aggressive, unpredictably aggressive. Like somebody could walk in and put a halter on him and 2 minutes later he'd grab them and throw them across the paddock. Like just extremely unpredictable and dangerous, was about to be euthanized. And I talked the owner of the rescue into letting me take him in and work with him. And thinking about the experience I had with him, do you know the movie How to Train Your Dragon?
Oh yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Like talk about connection with animals captured in, like they captured it.
It's perfect.
It is perfect. It's literally perfect. So he was kind of my Toothless.
Oh.
So the part of the movie where Hiccup is learning all about the dragons and taking the knowledge to just practical application, learning about the nervous system was my learning about this really dragon that I had, who over the entire time that I worked with him, he lunged at me 2 times in like the first week that I was working with him. I only reached that point with him 2 times because of missteps from me. I was never injured in the work that I did with him.
Cool.
And that was very cool. I was very thankful for that. But understanding everything he showed me was communication. I guess you could call it a system. The relationship I had with him to this day is different than any horse I ever had because it was so strongly based in consent. And I think consent-based work has a place in all training to different degrees, depending on the emotional resilience and the physical resilience of the horse.
Yeah.
And the strength of the relationship. Like the better we know each other, the more capable we are of doing the thing that's on the table, the higher of an expectation I'm going to have for the partner that I'm working with.
Yeah.
But for him, there was no expectation. It was like, how do we keep you alive? And we developed the ability, he could tell me yes and no. He could tell me if he wanted a halter, if he wanted to be touched, where he wanted to be brushed. We had like an introduction ritual of if he wanted to work with me, how we would introduce each other to each other on that specific day. And if it didn't happen, I didn't touch him. Like it was so intentional.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Well, because talk about being like, it's kind of one of those opportunities with a horse like that that's like was going to be euthanized.
Yeah.
Literally like, okay, let's throw all the toys out.
You've got nothing to lose.
And be like, let's just, you have nothing to lose.
And I say you have nothing to lose. In those situations, you have nothing to lose except your own personal safety. I think those situations are scary, but also very raw and authentic in keeping you so aware. Yeah. Like us as people, we don't find ourselves in situations very often where we have to be aware of ourselves and our bodies and our energy and what we're communicating simply for the sake of keeping ourselves alive and not in the presence of a persistent threat, but in the presence of something where if I misconduct myself, I will produce a threat. Yes. As long as I'm aware and if I'm connected, there's no threat present. Yeah. Like that's a high stakes situation. That teaches you a lot about how the subtle details really impact what's happening. So that horse, Roman, he was the introduction to the nervous system. And I mean, I say introduction, like just the tip of the iceberg. Even still, I'm learning and changing the way that I approach it and explain it to people.
I will also say too, the industry as a whole, and if Dr. Stephen Peters were here, he'd also say, like we also, there's a ceiling to the amount of research and money that's that's funded. So
much.
So equine neuroscience is not a highly prioritized field.
No.
So there is, I mean, first of all, there are a lot of questions and there's not a lot of answers. Yeah. And there's not a lot of funding to find out those answers. Yeah. So when people go, this should, we should know this. It's like, well, should is a loaded word. Like who is going to pay for that research? Yeah. And also, we know for when it comes to research, how much money is required in order to find beyond a reasonable doubt. Right. What is true and not true in accordance to the intelligence and the data that we have right now, because we've also disproven a lot, right? So it's like, I always find research to be this incredibly powerful and also very flimsy
It's volatile,
yeah.
really, because people will base their entire modalities around it, and sometimes even base their identities on it. And you talk about a forceful paradigm shift when something like that gets turned on its head because somebody's discovered this new piece. Like you have to be so humble and curious in the information that you're using, especially as a teacher, to be able to help people on their own journeys. And honestly, a lot of the nervous system information I've pursued has been human-based, not horse-based. And I'm going to say I've simply taken it. It has not been simple. I have taken it very intentionally to my horses, students' horses as well, but especially my horses, and have watched parallel function of like, okay, if it functions this way in people, what's the parallel for horses? And also, where do we find an intersection between how a horse's nervous system and a person's nervous system actually start to communicate with one another and almost interface with one another? Because at all times we are interfacing and communicating in ways that we're completely unaware of, like in just tiny little signs and shifts and feelings. Yeah. It fascinates me
so
to
cool.
know, and I love this so much.
Okay, so let's maybe pull our first question. I feel like this is a good opportunity
I'm
to
excited.
Okay, you pull the first question.
Ooh, this is a good one. Ooh, this is a good one. How do you reset yourself on days when you're not showing up as the trainer you want to be? Ooh. And I think there's different facets to that. For me, the first one that comes to mind is broader, which is the idea that who we're showing up as, like the trainer I want to be, me as a person, me as a trainer, are not two separate things. So who I am outside of my horses is directly related to who I am when I go in to work with them. Like the idea that when we get to the barn or we get to the arena, we leave all of our stress and baggage at the door. Like it does not, to me, it does not work that way.
It's hard.
Like I think of it, I call it the backpack of like when we have that with us, when we have the stress and the conditioning to be acting on stress and not being in the present moment, like all of these things, we don't just magically develop the ability to have that. When we get to the barn and the space where our horses are, and whatever we are not aware of or have influence over, it is the backpack. And pretending like we can drop the backpack at the gate, which we can't necessarily do, creates so much incongruence for the horses, because the horse is like, what are you wearing? And you're like, I'm not wearing anything.
What happened 2 hours ago?
Yeah. And you're like, I'm not wearing anything. They're like, no, you have a backpack on. I'm like, no, I don't have a backpack. I'm fine. And to just deny the fact that everything we experience outside of the work we do with horses influences strongly what's going on, I think that's the first thing we have to recognize. So for me as a person, just things that I've learned about myself that help immensely: intentional physical movement, exercise, and good clean foods. Like I say good clean food. I love food. I'm a foodie. Like eat to live to eat, for sure. But looking for things that I can put into my body, that quite literally the input into my body is the output. Whatever I put into myself is what I get to put out to those around me, horses and people, and directly influences, as we know, connection is reciprocal. What I put out is also what I get back.
Yeah.
So if physically the things I'm putting into myself can influence that in an incredibly strong way, to tie it back into the nervous system, like gut-brain connection, the connection of the vagus nerve throughout the body, like our brain is talking to our gut all the time. Our gut is talking to our brain. It's not a 50-50 street. It's an 80-20 street. 80% of the information from our body is going from our gut to our brain.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think what we put into our bodies should be of importance to us, if quite literally it's defining our physical, visceral experience as a person? So I would say first and foremost, take that seriously, because
like control the things you can. That's what that comes up.
Focus, exactly. Focus on what is in the realm of your control, and also make tiny changes. Like, if I look at the lifestyle I'm leading now compared to where I was 2 years ago, I've made immense improvements. And if I look at the lifestyle I'd love to have, there's still immense improvements to go. So practically, for anybody wanting to explore that outside of just horses, like 1% better every day. You do everything all at once, it's never going to stick. Speaking from experience, like just a little bit better, and give yourself grace as you learn that. But taking that to the actual day with the horses, when I am not where I would like to be, if I'm noticing frustration, if I'm starting to notice that I'm not accomplishing the thing that I want to be accomplishing, the first thing I look at or I question myself on is, am I acting from a place of expectation, or am I acting from a place of intention? And the difference between these two things is that expectation is very ego-based. I think to a degree it's necessary to have goals and visions of what it is that we'd like to accomplish. In fact, vitally necessary to have a context to connect over. If I don't know what we're doing or what we're talking about, it's hard to develop connection, like a mutual partnership to accomplish what's on the table. But expectation goes beyond that, and it starts to connect my ability to feel successful with what I physically witness outside of my body. I need to see this thing happen to be affirmed in myself that I've been successful. And that puts my horse at risk, quite potentially, of being the thing that I'm trying to coerce and make into this thing that's threatening my success. So it puts me almost against my horse rather than intention, which comes down still maybe to, I'm trying to accomplish this thing on this day. I want to go work on X, Y, and Z. It's great to have a plan, but beyond that, I'm going to prioritize a specific feeling. I already mentioned it once, the idea of the creative process. I love this idea that it isn't the product that matters as much as the physical experience of all of the steps that lead to the product. So if all of the steps I'm going through lead to this product, but every step comes from a place of force and expectation of, I have to make this happen to get here, versus, am I willing to go slower? Am I willing to maybe humble myself and go a different way if the horse isn't ready for what I think we're ready for, or is showing me something that is unexpected? Maybe they're not showing up in the way that I expected them to. And if I can't pivot as the one facilitating the work in the relationship, then I'm doing both of us a disservice. So checking myself first. And if I catch myself early enough in the decline to say, okay, I'm too attached to the expectation, can I shift what I'm doing to find the feeling that I'm looking for? And that feeling should be quite specific. Am I trying to have a day that's playful and energetic? Is it calm and quiet and peaceful? Is it at any range of things? Is it confident? Am I going to push us a little bit today? Am I going to try to step outside of my comfort zone and look for things that are new and unfamiliar? Like, I quite consciously set that before I go in to work with that horse. If I can catch myself there, amazing. If I find that I reach a point emotionally where things outside of my horses, things with my horses, doesn't matter what it is. If it's pushed me emotionally to a point where I'm no longer in objective control of my response, I will stop everything. Tying it back into the idea, what are the raw ingredients I need for connection? If I was to boil it down to one, it would be responsiveness. Our response to our experience is what defines all of our relationships. It is the most pivotal thing to what creates the reality that we experience. So if I am out of control of my response, I am out of control of my input into the relationship that I'm trying to create. And if we hold the relationship above all else, there should be nothing more important than stopping before I do more damage, or potentially more damage, to this thing that I hold so so dear to me until I reach a point just in my body where I can make a plan and go forward with the plan. And sometimes, I mean, that looks like throwing my whips across the arena and sitting my butt down in the footing, and the horses being like, lady, we're in the middle of something. Like, what's your problem? Sometimes they don't even recognize that's where I was getting to. But to be willing to stop and taking it back to the nervous system, like regulate. And regulate doesn't necessarily mean come back to a place of zen and calm, but to be with the feeling instead of so overtaken by it that it's the one calling the shots, like a witness to the experience instead of a victim of the experience. Yeah.
It makes me think of like what co-regulation looks like, but also what co-regulation looks like for horses. So it makes me think of a lot of scenarios that I've personally been involved in, but I've also witnessed, in which the person is having a tough day, a tough year, a tough moment in their life. And they go in with the expectation that they're going to accomplish A, B, and C. And the horse is like, I'm sorry, but this backpack that you have on you, I just like, I don't think horses have a problem with the backpack. They're just like, can we acknowledge that the backpack exists?
That's exactly the thing.
And so then what happens is there's like a conversation or something, a word happens or the horse does something and it triggers, and there's this big emotional release. And what I wish for the horse world to have a permission slip for is in those moments where you're like, I just really want to have a cry. Like I really just want to like have a temper tantrum. For someone who has personally have a full-blown adult temper tantrum, not at my horse, like at the ground. If you push all that energy into the ground, you know what the horses do? They come over and they're like, oh, this is great. You're down regulating yourself. I'm in witness to you. They do a bunch of yawns. They're like, they're dropping in. And then you both, because everyone knows that feeling after you've expressed all this emotion that you have inside you. So much better. Then you're like, oh, this feels amazing. You do a big exhale. That's to me what co-regulation is it might be Zen. I'm someone who, there's nothing going wrong in my life, so I'm going to sit here and like meditate. That can be for some people.
But it is so much more, I think it can be so much more authentic than that. I think what you're emphasizing there is also so important in the sense of not just getting on with the work of invalidating the feeling that comes up, of like sometimes the frustration is there and we have the tendency or even the capability to say, no, I'm not going to be frustrated, and then we're at odds with ourselves and now trying to work with the horses. Like it just, we think about co-regulation, this nervous system that beyond just our conscious level, like every nervous system is aware of the nervous systems around it. So it does not matter what's going on up here. It matters entirely what's going on here and what the horse feels from us. So to move through the feeling, to say like, here's this feeling, I'm going to get to the other side of it. And whether that is deep breaths, whether it's, you know, having a full grown adult temper tantrum.
Adult temper tantrums are the best.
Underrated, really underrated. But expressing it,
obviously not at anybody,
not at the horse, but to let the emotion move. Like we look at the word emotion, it's in the word. Motion. Like they're not meant to be stagnant things. Like motion and emotion are one and the same. So
absolutely. Okay. That was
oh my gosh, one question. Ooh, all right.
But I knew you're a rabbit hole girl like me.
I love it.
Okay, my horse ignores my leg. And I end up using more and more pressure. Oh my God, this is amazing.
This ties in so well.
How would you handle that without it turning into a fight?
Good question. And I think this is gonna tie back into the idea of expectation versus intention. I'd say right now the expectation is that we're able to do things with this horse that require leg, and we're able to accomplish the exercise in a way that feels light and engaged, where really the intention should be a feeling of responsiveness and lightness. And in order to find that, like if I have a horse who is heavy potentially and inattentive, I like to say exaggerate accordingly. This comes back to conversational quality. If I need to put in an excessive amount of effort into the conversation to elicit a response, I want to see a response that matches my effort. So if I am, this ties back into what we were literally just talking about, if I am very aware of what I want my leg aid to feel like, this is just a principle rule for me. The more effort I need to put in, the more response I need to see if I want to keep a very lively and engaged feeling in the conversation. As soon as it starts to feel like my horse is becoming heavier and attentive, there's the opportunity to exaggerate the response I'm looking for and follow through. I do feel that has to come with the curiosity, though, of why is the body not responsive? Is going to be, this is where it starts to dive a little bit deeper in terms of the relationship. Like, we've come back to this idea of response so many times. This raw ingredient of response, I look at it kind of like a ball that we play catch with. We build relationships through exchanging response. So it's like happening right now. It's like, I have the ball right now, and then I'm going to toss it to you, and then you toss it to me, and we build this thing. We can separate this out into two pieces of exchanging, which is information in and information out. We hear the word sensitivity thrown around a lot. Oh, a horse is sensitive, or they aren't sensitive. Well, some of them aren't, but I don't feel it's identified in a correct way, because sensitivity is simply information in. And expression is information out. I find people mix up expression with sensitivity quite often. To say that horse is quite sensitive. No, that horse might be sensitive, but they're also quite expressive. There are also horses who are very, very sensitive who are not expressive. Who take in a lot of information but don't give a lot of information.
That's very true.
So I need to be asking myself before I even get into the physical capability of the horse, what personality type am I working with? Do I have the rapport that I need to actually apply that amount of pressure to the horse and elicit a response in a way that brings clarity to the conversation, rather than bringing shock to my horse of like, oh my gosh, I've never experienced this amount of pressure from this person, and this amount of what is intended as clarity, but this amount of accountability around the aids. If that's not an experience the horse has had with the rider, if we make too big of a jump too soon, that will shake the confidence of the horse rather than improve the responsiveness. So I think that absolutely ties into it. And then just the physical capability and fitness of the horse.
What
question.
are you asking? Are you asking something that is fair, or that is physically capable of that horse? And I also want to add as as an additional, or like an add-on or an alternative to that exercise you were talking about, where you're going to be consistent in the leg aid. You're going to apply. You're going to start really subtle and build and build and build until you feel a response, and then you're going to release immediately, because that's what you want, right? And we're trying to establish that pattern of responsiveness. If you want to, I had to rehabilitate the responsiveness on an Andalusian horse that I had, that came from a competitive dressage background, who literally has like calcification on the side of his barrel because of spurs. And one of the coolest, and I'd never seen it anywhere else, was Mark Rashid. We were in a clinic, and it was actually his Abido clinic, where he's combining martial arts with Aikido and horsemanship.
That's fascinating.
I would highly recommend it. And actually, I was going to tell Brendan about it, because he's done martial arts.
Cool.
It's one of the most brain exploding experiences, because he really helps you understand the impact that energy has, and how it's just in the way that only martial arts can explain that to you in your body. But we had a really simple exercise, which was, I wanted to rehabilitate the so-and-so dullness that this horse had to the leg aid. And we had physical evidence of how and where that dullness had come from. Okay. And so he gave me that invitation, the way that you've given that invitation, of how to rehabilitate sensitivity to the leg. But what I loved is his alternative, because not everyone is comfortable using a whip. And not everyone is comfortable with that particular aid, right? And I'm not going to tell anyone if it's good or bad. It's just a matter of what your relationship is with that aid, right?
Absolutely.
So what he did was, it's all about the energy in your body that's using that, like that's asking that question. He said, instead of tapping it on the horse, tap your leg. So
I love that.
It's the coolest.
I love that so much.
So it's about, and it's about the energetic charge.
Cool.
So we're charging the leg.
Yeah.
So if you apply your leg aid and you don't get a response, what happens if you tap your leg?
Yeah.
Because that will send energy through your leg. And I just wanted to provide that as an alternative to everybody.
And to build on that as well, because I think what you bring out here is becoming more and more of it's a fascination and a focus of mine in the teaching that I do, where so many people find me for work they want to do with the horses. It really starts to become work with the people as well.
Yeah.
Whether it's in Liberty, just teaching physical movements to people, apart from the horses, of how do we move? Can we bring people into their bodies to work horses at Liberty, or riding? Like, what level of pressure and communication are people comfortable with? That is such a deep question that I don't really think anybody is asking of. Like, we're very invested. Is the horse okay with it? Am I comfortable with it? And that idea does not mean I have the opportunity to condemn things that I'm uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Because that can be a temptation of, if I'm uncomfortable with it, it must be bad. Stay curious about it. Yeah. Right? There's something to learn from everything, but to understand that there are so many alternatives to keep your nervous system in a state where you can be engaged and responsive to what's going on. Because as soon as you become, I'm not going to say uncomfortable is a bad place to be, but so uncomfortable that you're more focused on the discomfort than what's actually happening in front of you, it's a hard space to be an effective communicator and to learn. So beyond just tap your whip with the leg, like for me, I'm an avid clicker trainer. I love positive reinforcement. I do feel in the horse world, it is wildly misrepresented as a way to say good job to horses. It is not. It's a science experiment. It's fascinating. It gives me the ability, off of a noise, to produce dopamine release in the horse that I'm working with on a specific moment in time. I need to, if I arm myself with a tool that is that powerful, where I'm changing the physical chemical makeup of a living being, I have to be consistent in where the changes are happening. Yeah. If we're clicking left and right because the horse, they're doing such a good job and I want to give them a cookie, the horse has become dysregulated and frustrated and often sometimes miserable because they're unsure of how to replicate the situation, the activity that produced the food. So consistency is the most important thing, and consistency in their response to us. If we want clicker training to serve the connection, I'm not just clicking for things that I want my horse to actively look for, like dopamine says, that feels great, let's do it again. I want them to be actively looking for things that happen in response to me. I like supercharge their desire to respond to me, rather than just clicking and treating the things that they find really fun, which they think it is really fun. So that consistency is important as well. But for something like this, where maybe, like, I'm going to put myself in this situation, I have a student with a heavy horse, a horse that's needing to be rehabilitated to sensitivity around the leg, and the student is lacking confidence, right? Maybe the idea of picking energy up and pressure up at all is frightening, honestly, like scary, and to that nervous system threatening, of like, I don't think I can do that. I need to take the tools that I have to arm that person and that horse with their highest possible chance of success. So even if we break that down from the exercise of, okay, when I put my leg on, I'm a confident person, I have a rapport with this horse, I'm going to touch with the whip and say canter, maybe I say we're going to not use the whip at all. Maybe we put the leg on, and for me, my general rule is 5 times or less, 5 applications or less of leg, whip, what have you, before I become annoying and unclear in what I want my horse to do. So I would challenge that student in 5 movements or less with the leg. Maybe the leg gets bigger, but as soon as we feel 2% more energy in the horse, we click and treat.
Yes.
Right? So now I'm using intrinsic motivation in the horse to say, okay, I'm adding this additional external motivator to say, hey, horse who's not very motivated, can you bring more of yourself to the conversation to produce a feeling that this person needs to have, ideally to progress them on the journey, that they would be able to use pressure to communicate with the horse. I emphasize that because pressure is my direct line of communication to the nervous system. Clicker training, amazing, epic, really, in what it can do for horses. What I do with my horses, I couldn't do without clicker training, really. But I need to have a horse who is emotionally resilient and comfortable with pressure. So I'll never use my clicker training as a permanent diversion from an issue with pressure in a horse or a person.
Yeah.
That's something I won't do. Temporary solution to produce a feeling that will build confidence to get them there, absolutely. So there's so many different ways we could do things like that.
Well, and I think as we also, and I think I mentioned before we move on to the next question, is too, I think horses that are dull to pressure in general, I think have been made to be that way. And we can agree to that. Like, I do think, I mean, there's a spectrum of the level, the responsiveness to pressure, but I think there's enough evidence out there to really say that horses that are dull to pressure are actually often the ones that are most sensitive, and they've built the strongest protection against it because it was too much, too quick, too soon.
Absolutely.
Right?
I
And not
agree with that as well.
consistent enough.
Yeah. Ooh, it's my turn. I'm gonna go for this little guy right here. We have, what's something you've changed your mind about in your training over the last few years? Ooh. Oh gosh, where do we take this one? I'm gonna roll with the first thing that pops into my head, which would actually be clicker training. And I guess the beginning of my journey with clicker training with horses was a tool that I used for everything from the foundation all the way through the more advanced maneuvers, because in my head, why not? Why not? It's such a cool feeling. It's an empowering feeling to have horses who are genuinely excited to show up and try to do the things that you're asking them to do. And that idea of like, why not? This feels good. The feeling was good. The excitement was there. My horses were, to me, fairly happy in the work that we were doing. That served me well enough until I started to try and perform with my horses at Liberty. When I took behaviors that were clicker trained and I put them into environments with substantial pressure, everything crumbled.
Really?
Immediately. And it produced a curiosity in me that took me literally across oceans. Like I traveled, this is when I worked with Ben Atkinson, eventually Will Rogers. Since then, I've met Mia Rodley, like just people across seas that have become inspirations and friends of mine, looking for clues and answers as to essentially how to elicit curiosity without food. Because it was such a pillar in everything that I did, to say, okay, I can elicit engagement and curiosity with the presence of food. And I know there are people out there that say, oh, I want my horse to want to work with me and not want to work with me because I have food. I don't mind either way. Like if I'm exciting because I can provide you with this thing, amazing. Like it's not a personal affront to me. But when I started to feel that in the performing space, the things that were so consistent at home were not predictable at all, it started to highlight that there was a lack of felt safety in the horses in those spaces. It's like the value that they found in performing the things for the food didn't outweigh the lack of security they felt in being with me in the space.
Gotcha.
So that was a key to the wheels that started to turn, and really the dominoes that started to fall into wanting to fix and repair more and more areas of disconnect that I started to notice. It's one of those things, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
I started to see it in the performing spaces, and then even at home practicing with them, I started to notice when they were engaged with me at Liberty, like when we were working at Liberty, if and when they were engaged, they were amazing. They were intense and excited and happy to be there. But if they disconnected, the disconnect was immense. Like it wasn't just drift off and come back. It was huge emotional overwhelm, take off, run around, come back. It's like the energy was up all the time, which I found to be very, very puzzling. And I like couldn't quite put the pieces together because I was so precise and so particular. Like I had reviewed everything that I knew about clicker training, about the consistency and the timing of the click, the position that I was treating them in, the rate of reinforcement, the kind of food I was reinforcing with, like everything it was like brain surgery. I was so confused by what was missing. Yeah. I was so precise in what I was doing. And it was at that point that I connected with Ben Atkinson over in England. And Ben as a person, amazing. The experience I had with him there, like I'll sum it up so quickly because I could talk about it for so long. Within an hour of meeting the guy, I was Roman riding 2 of his horses. It was 6 horses at Liberty. Like it was cool, crazy experiences. And for the remainder of that time, and then I went back a second time for longer and worked with him, worked with his horses to feel his horses who he did not use food with, who were so genuinely excited to just show up. And it's like they didn't have to know what you were doing, but they wanted to be a part of it. Especially for me, I didn't know them. I didn't know his training style, but he would let me work with them and play with them. And they were so interested in what I was trying to tell them to do. They didn't care if I was unclear. Like they were just there to work with me. I was like, this is the piece. I have no idea how to replicate this, but I know that this is it. This is what I want to feel with my horses, is that they're just genuinely happy to be with me. If food is a part of that, amazing. If it isn't, fine. I don't know how to navigate that, but fine. And I went home from that trip, and the first thing I did, just out of curiosity, was I took food out. I was like, what do I have if the food isn't there? And within 2 days, my horses gave me a resounding answer, which was nothing. Like quite literally, they would not walk with me at Liberty without the click in the treat, which was humbling and terrifying and relieving all at the same time. Because like you mentioned before in Brendan's interview, the rock bottom, you want to talk about rock bottom as an up and coming aspiring Liberty trainer and performer, to have your 2 best horses just flat out refuse. And when I say refuse, like if there was pressure, they would run in the opposite direction. So it exposed a huge hole in the foundation that I had with them, which was the relationship that they had with pressure. And the idea that I finally, this came full circle for me later after I rebuilt everything. And when I say rebuilt, I invented the method that I have today with them in that stage of my life. I was like, I need tools that lead to peaceful duration and relaxation with pressure. That was like the huge piece I was missing. And to realize later, once I had that all of the time they spent with me, motivated by food at Liberty, was in resistance to the tension that they were also feeling in accordance to the pressure I was applying with them. When the value of the food outweighed the discomfort of the pressure, they would stay. And when the discomfort of the pressure outweighed the value of the food, they would go, which was like, whoa. So there's this narrative in the positive reinforcement world that you can train with positive reinforcement without pressure. I don't believe that that's true, because
I don't believe that's true either.
Pressure is anything that activates the nervous system. Anything that activates the nervous system. The nervous system is designed to be activated.
Yes.
I see this in positive reinforcement circles as well, is that they view stress as bad. Stress is necessary in controlled and predictable environments, so that I can prove, whether it's humans or horses, because we're the same here, whether it's me proving to myself that I am capable and I can overcome this challenge in front of me and find safety in myself and in the space around me to add strength and resilience to that system, or if it's in my horse with, and sometimes without my help, them having a good relationship with the internal activation of their nervous system, meaning they feel activation and they feel capable of regulating themselves. That to me became not just the new pillar of working them at Liberty, but has become, I feel, a responsibility that as people we have to the horses. Of, if I was to leave my horses with one thing, if there came a day where we had to part ways, which I pray to the heavens will never happen because they are everything to me, but if it had to happen, if I could leave them with one thing, it would be their capability to regulate their nervous system without my help. Without my help. I find so often we look at the idea of leadership as like, I just want my horse to be happy following me. They're without me, like right now, they're at home. I'm not helping them.
Yeah.
And the idea that I can provide them with the opportunity and the education to physically change how they experience the world around them. Like if we train intentionally with nervous system informed training, connection-based training, it's not just that we have a great relationship with the horses, it's that physically we provide them with tools that they would never have otherwise to be relaxed and secure in a world that was not made for them. No. And it's a beautiful thing to have.
Actually, the world we live in was not made for lots of things.
I know.
Like
really,
as I'm like sitting here like
too, it's like that's me too. Of like it's not made for us to connect with each other. It's not made for us to find that regulation either.
Like I think it's so important to emphasize that the world we live in is not made for a lot of things. So when we say, oh, the world is not made for horses, it's not made for community. It's not made for you know, like for alternate ways of thinking, for our diverse people. Like there's lots of things in which the world is not made for. So horses are not, you know, like it's so that, I think that gives us even access to more empathy. That how can we give them all the skills to thrive and to be empowered in the environment that they live in.
Yeah. So to wrap that all the way back to clicker training, like the role it plays for me now, if I was to kind of grossly oversimplify it, I would boil it down to two words, which is quality and difficulty. So if I have an area of quality, like for me, a huge piece of my work at Liberty is self-carriage and posture. And posture not as in vertical flexion, because it is quite easy to produce false posture in Liberty horses, which I did actually for a long time through clicker training, but to produce correct physical biomechanical posture in all of the horse, that's a huge piece of the work that I do at Liberty to develop them, not just emotionally, but physically. And that is a piece I clicker train hugely. So whether it's a piece like that, quality, and we look at things like trick training, things like that, areas that we can start to bring the clicker training into, or difficulty. If I have a horse who is a little outside of the box, maybe a foundational exercise that I would typically be training with pressure and release, to take the opportunity to let that horse develop a good relationship with pressure, to help the nervous system become more resilient if needed. If there's a piece that is hugely difficult and I'm lacking curiosity and motivation and it's becoming detrimental in the relationship we have with each other, I will absolutely go get a treat pouch and start clicker training maybe earlier than I might with another horse for that specific exercise. But I really look at the exercise as the context for where food is available and where it isn't. If I train something with food, food will always be woven into the conversation of that thing, which is what comes back to consistency. Like I can't just use it for a little while and then take it out completely. If I intentionally phase clicker training out through, like we build behavior with clicker training through consistent reinforcement, maybe gradually upping the expectation to shape the behavior into what we want it to be, we would phase it out through inconsistent reinforcement, which when we've created a behavior that we like, eventually becoming more and more inconsistent. At first, just a little bit. Maybe there's a repetition I would usually click for that I'm just not going to click for this time. And maybe one turns into 2 or 3, turns into 5 or 6. Over a period of days, weeks, months, we phase the food out. That is an option. So when I say that we're not just going to stop using the food, that's not what I mean, because that's an option on the table. What I do mean is that I'm not going to introduce food to that horse for 1 or 2 weeks and then take it out, because now I have the exercise and I can just move on. I can increase the expectation to say, when you perform a higher quality version, difficulty and quality, a higher quality version of this thing, I'll click and treat for it. So now I'm not clicking and treating for just the elementary movements that I might be using on a daily basis. But my gosh, if you do a really good job, better than I'm expecting you to, I could click and treat for that. But it's not something that is optional or intermittent once we start to train a behavior with it, if we really want to live by the idea of consistency, which I really think with clicker training we need to.
I think you've given a lot of people permission in this episode to try and to fail and to change, or to really succeed at something. Like I love the way that you were able to articulate so beautifully this experience of integrating clicker training and then all of a sudden being like, hold on, full rock bottom. Like I'm a Liberty trainer and my best horses cannot be at Liberty with me. That's really powerful to provide a permission slip to change and to pivot into the power of like the evolution that you can pick up and put down, pick up and put down.
Always. And you should forever. Like I think if you ever reach a space where you're like, yep, this is good. This is where I'm going to operate for the rest of my time here on this green earth. Like you've lost the purpose of being a horse person, which is to learn continuously. It's not always comfortable. And referencing the roundtable discussion I got to witness yesterday, like the feeling of learning is not parallel to the outcome of learning, which learning sucks. Like you can feel like you suck at what's going on. And usually the most influential lessons that we learn are the lessons that are the most challenging and the most painful. And it doesn't feel good to go through it. But my gosh, on the other side of it, that's where I really feel like that's where we develop and grow the most as people. Yeah.
Oh, we need to do a follow-up because I have so many more questions I want to ask you. But in our well-held tradition, I'm going to dive into our rapid fire because I'm really excited to hear your answers.
I'm excited.
And then we're going to keep all those questions.
Yes.
And we're going to do a follow-up. Okay. There's so much more that I want to dive into with you.
So many.
Okay. Who is the most iconic horse in history?
In history? Oh gosh. For me, it would be the Black Stallion.
I was gonna ask.
That is the movie I watched so many times. The scene on the beach, running around at Liberty so many times as a kid. I feel like in all of us, there's like that little horse kid. Like for me, it's that little horse girl, and I still feel her in there. Like there are moments with my horses where I'm like, oh my gosh, there she is. Like me sitting on the couch, being like, I want to do that one day. And I do feel like that's just an iconic movie.
I can't tell you how many people have told me how that scene in that movie has been like made. I don't know if those people who made that, like the team that made that movie, if Francis Ford Coppola would have known that he was going to make a film that would have that much impact on horse people, that scene. But you probably do know this. Do you know like who the Black Stallion, who that like the story is based off?
I actually don't know.
It's based off of so the movie itself is based off of Alexander the Great and Bucephalus.
Wow.
The boy,
the beginning,
the untamable horse.
That
whole whole story frame of the Black Stallion is based off of that legend. That's those people in history. Wow. So most undervalued skill as a rider.
Anything that lets you feel your body more. Outside of horses, dancing, gymnastics, yoga, like get in your body, move your body. Cool. Because if you're not moving your body, I feel like it goes one way or another. It degrades or it gets stronger. So make it stronger and feel it as much as you possibly can. Yep. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Who is the greatest horseman or horsewoman in history?
Gosh, in history, these are big questions. I'm not going to overthink it because I could overcomplicate this in a big way. And this one's this is tripping me up a little bit because so many people have contributed so much. I think I'm going to go more in the direction of who has inspired me in the most wholesome way, not just as like a facet of their horsemanship or a facet of them as a person that I've really been inspired by, but just as a person with their horses who have I just been enamored by since the beginning of this, and it would be Sylvia Zerbini. I think she's phenomenal as a person, her poise, her ability to communicate, her presence, like being in a room with somebody that from the first time I saw her at Equine Affair in 2018 to like producing Breyerfest. Last year, Brendan and I were in the show at Breyerfest. Anytime you're in the room with her, you are inspired and a little bit scared. Every single time. And she's so kind and so articulate, but it's just in the way that she carries herself. Cool. And the understanding she has of the horses and her show presence, her ability to present to an audience. I feel like in the world of Liberty performers right now, she's up there as one of the best of the best. Cool. So yeah, I enjoy her a lot.
Okay, and last question.
Yeah.
Which I'm curious actually going to be your answer.
Yeah.
Mares, stallions, or geldings?
Stallions.
Hey, why?
Why? We take a look at connection, what we want to have for healthy nervous system regulation and interaction. Huge pieces of it: responsiveness, curiosity, and social engagement. And if you were to embody those things in a horse, where so many horses, mares, geldings, I find this kind of work has to draw those things out. And then eventually we have like who they are as an individual in the room with us, and we get to shape them. Quite consistently with stallions, it's the opposite of like, whoa, let's dial those things back until we have the pieces that we need to just allow whoever you are to come into the room. Like they love to express themselves so much. And I think beyond that, just their level of enthusiasm and expression for the work. I really enjoy them a lot. Yeah.
Well, Kaylee, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming on the, we all learn a ton. So thank you.
Amazing.